everyone. Welcome to the official Warrior Women webinars. My name is Leigh-Anne Williams, and it's so wonderful to be here in the first of a series of incredible webinars that are going to be taking place over the next few weeks. Now, I'm so excited to be joined by amazing women, but more so to be joined by you. Thank you so much to it online, www.goodupfm.co.za. Your free registration has given you the opportunity to be here joining us in this amazing platform. And of course, you can stand a chance to win amazing prizes, a 1,000 Rand Engen voucher, a 1,000 Rand Canal Walk shopping voucher, and so many more amazing prizes. But that will do towards the end of the webinar. Now, we are creating this amazing opportunity because we all know that COVID-19 has taken the world by storm. It has wreaked havoc not only on our livelihoods, but on economies and cultures as well. But according to research, COVID-19 has affected women disproportionately harder. And that's why we created this platform and this space where we could come together as women, discuss some of the challenges that we are going through and the impacts that it has on our lives, and hopefully find some solutions on how we can surge forward and try to build a better and stronger future, even though we don't necessarily know what the future looks like. So I'm so thankful that you're here. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the next hour as we are joined by really powerful and incredible women. Now, talking about the women that are part of our panel, I'm so excited. I've met each and every one of these women. They are incredible. They inspire me on a daily basis, and I know that they're going to do the same for you as well. First up on our panel, we have award-winning speaker and best-selling author who helps individuals and teams to win not only at life, but in work as well. Her passion for connection and relationships and how to maintain them in a fast-changing world is at the core of everything that she does as a human potential thought leader. She's admired and respected for her work in raising human potential through leadership, engagement, resilience, connection, and teamwork. Warrior Women webinars, darling.
Thank you, Leigh-Anne. So wonderful to be back with you.
Oh, I know that we have had so many opportunities to work together. Espresso Morning Show was one of them. I've seen so much of what you've done, so I'm so happy that you are here. And of course, we can't wait to jump into what you're going to be talking about today. Thank you so much, Nikki, for availing yourself. Our next speaker is dedicated to inspiring mindful, healthy living through physical well-being, mental clarity. Coming from a 126 kilograms and also having to endure an abusive marriage, there was no one to assist her to become the person that she is today. But it is her sole purpose to give back to the broken, the helpless, and those struggling with weight, fitness, and motivation. The core of what she does is to build other women to be their best selves. Anisa, Essop, welcome to the Warrior Women webinars.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Lee. Thank you so much for having me today.
Oh, I'm so excited to catch up with you. We have another guest who will be joining us in a little bit of a surprise, but I want to start with you, Nikki Bush. I've had the immense pleasure of chatting to not only you and Anisa on the Warrior Women platform that we have at Good Hope FM. And Nikki, you have always just inspired my life. Everything that you do and you teach. There was one particular moment when you joined me last year, when you were telling me about a very difficult moment in your life. You were traveling home, I think it was from KZN, and you were completely engulfed by mist. Tell us the story of the mist in your life and what that taught you.
Yes, Leigh-Anne, it's a little personal anecdote from it's a week before lockdown. I found myself traveling through the mist between Pietermaritzburg and Hilton. Now, I'd forgotten, because I hadn't been in that part of the world for quite some time, that at night the mist comes down. And I guess I want to ask our listeners and viewers, when last did you get lost? And, you know, these days we don't get lost because we just put the address of where we're going into Waze or Google Maps and we get there, don't we? And we completely trust the technology. So I've just given a talk, take you back into that night. I've just given a talk in Maritzburg, and I have to get to my B&B in Hilton. I put the address into Waze, and I trust that Waze is going to get me there, which it does. But Waze takes you the shortest route, and it doesn't take into account that there's going to be mist, and I hadn't thought about the mist. So I'm driving up the hill, and I drive into this wall of mist, and I can't go any further. And it just reminds me of where we find ourselves as women right now in COVID-19, that we've driven into the mists of COVID of not knowing, and we're having to get comfortable with not knowing. But it's not comfortable, is it? In fact, it's really hard, because as women, we really like to feel a sense of control over our lives. And as I was driving up into the mist, I pulled over because I couldn't see. And this woman drove past me, pulled over, put her hazards on, popped out, got to my window. I opened my window, and she said, "Nikki," and you won't believe it, but she was the woman who'd organized the talk down at the bottom of the hill in Maritzburg. And she doesn't normally drive this road at all, because she knows about the mist. And she said, "Don't worry, I will take you to your B&B." So she was my angel, my guide, who arrived at my window, just as I guess I'm offering to be your guide for the next hour, as is Anisa, Leigh-Anne, and our other speaker. So I followed her, but while I was following her, something really deep got triggered in me, because Leigh-Anne knows, but I'm not sure if all of our viewers know, that I lost my husband at the end of 2017. He was actually murdered in our home during a home invasion. And as I was driving through the mist, I started sobbing, because I got triggered. The feelings were overwhelming, of feeling general feelings of fear, of not knowing where I was going. And it really hit this deep part of me, and I started sobbing, not just crying. I was going, and I had these tears pouring down my face. And I think that many of us during COVID, during this lockdown period, have had similar feelings, and it's okay. It's okay. We all have these feelings, and it's better to actually feel them and let them out than to shove them under the rug and pretend that they don't exist. So every single one of us has been triggered during COVID, and we need to acknowledge that our trigger was shock, fear, uncertainty, feelings of being out of control, loss of autonomy, not knowing, no clarity, not knowing what the future holds. This is where we find ourselves right now. But we can actually help ourselves out of this hole. And I guess that's why we're here today.
No, it certainly is why we are here today. I think that's why we've created this opportunity to have this platform, because I think one thing that we miss so much is human connection. The opportunity as women to speak other women, because that I feel is it's part of the way of getting us through this. We've all felt the impact of COVID-19 that it's had on our homes, our families, our livelihoods, our relationships. But Nikki, I remember once when we were talking, you gave us this really, really great example, and I think it was collateral beauty versus collateral damage. Do you want to take us through what that means, how that could potentially help us through this time?
Yes, Leigh-Anne. So that is an exercise that is so valuable at this time. But it was something that I developed 9 months after my husband's death, the first Women's Day that I had to stand up, and I'd been asked to give the story of what had happened to us and the lessons I'd learned so far. And as you can imagine, it was really tough. I was a very new widow at that point. Things were still incredibly raw for me. And I got quite angry when I was putting this talk together, because I had to take this very messy, very non-linear experience and package it into a linear presentation. And I was sitting in bed one Sunday morning, really angry, as many of us are with COVID. And I folded a piece of paper in half, and I wrote on one side, collateral damage, and on the other, collateral beauty. And I started on the collateral damage side because that was what I was feeling in that moment. And stream of consciousness, every emotion, everything that had happened that was awful, that was terrible, that was horrible, all the negatives I started writing down, including the loss of my husband, the loss of my children's father, the loss of my future co-grandparent, the loss of my home, because we lost our home as well. And it went on for 20 for 2.5 pages, 2.5 pages, I was going to say 21 pages, 2.5 pages of negatives. And I got to a point where I couldn't write anything more. And I thought, okay, let's start on the positive, but I'm sure there isn't much on the positive, and I'll come back to the negative. And I really surprised myself. By the time I had exhausted what I could write on the collateral beauty side, I got to 5 pages of beauty, of sparks in the ashes, of opportunities that had come my way, of possibilities that had opened up, of really good stuff that had come post my husband's death. And it completely blew me away. And then I had my story to share with my audience. And Leigh-Anne, I did this for COVID as well. And our audience can go and do this. Just prior to a radio interview in the beginning of lockdown, I was asked to obviously help people with coping with lockdown. And I thought maybe I can share this exercise with them. And I had the presenter in my ear, and she was just finishing off with the previous interview. And I thought, let me quickly do a collateral damage, collateral beauty exercise. I had a little scrap of paper in front of me. I folded it in half. I wrote COVID-19 for me, Nikki Bush, collateral damage on the one side, collateral beauty on the other. I quickly wrote down 10 things on the damage side for me. And then I went on to the beauty side. And you won't believe it, but I had the same result. Twice the number of items on the beauty side, on the plus positives, as on the negatives. So with every audience in my COVID-19 talks, I'm offering this as a reframing strategy to help you to keep perspective at this time. Because if you lose perspective, then you land up in fight, flight, or freeze. And none of those will help you personally or in your professional life, in your career right now. So keeping perspective is probably the most important, one of the most important things that you can do for yourself, your family, and your business.
I like what you say. You say that COVID is not an event. It's a process. So with a process, every single day we have to challenge and we have to interrogate these things in our lives that bring about negativity. And I really do love collateral damage versus collateral beauty. It helps to put things in perspective.
That's right. And when you say COVID's not an event, I'd like to give our listeners something really concrete to hold on to and share this image with your family. A wedding would be an event, but a marriage is a process that lasts for the 5 years of the marriage or the 50 years of the marriage. And COVID is not an interruption that's going to come and go. COVID is something we are going to have to learn to live with, a bit like HIV/AIDS. We learned to live with it. It became part of the fabric of our lives. And we are not going through an interruption or an event with COVID. We're actually going through a period of transition and adjustment that's going to take maybe the next 12 to 18 months to absorb and accommodate and learn to live with. So it's really important that we get our heads right so that we are prepared for a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah. It's all about reframing the mindset.
Yes, reframing is a skill. And Leigh-Anne, if you can create reframing as a skill, if you can sharpen that skill, then what happens is you create an ability to reauthor your life, to reauthor your life around circumstances that you cannot change. We cannot un-COVID ourselves. We can't rewind, just as I cannot un-widow myself as much as I may wish to. Certain things happen in life and it's a done deal. Our empowerment, our position of strength comes from deciding how we are going to move forward, what our attitude is going to be, what our choices are going to be moving forward. That is where our power lies. And it's important that we hold on to that, because otherwise we become those people who say, well, because of COVID, I landed up here. Because of racism, sexism, whatever it is, I think it's really easy sometimes to blame our past on our present. And I'm not saying that those things didn't shape us and bring us to this point. They did. But we still get to choose how to move forward from here. That is in your power. that is in my power. And we need to acknowledge that. And a nice analogy is to take a picture of a speedboat going through the water. When there's a speedboat, there's an engine on the back of the boat. And if you look behind the speedboat, there's a white wake.
Yeah.
And often people blame the wake, the past, for how their life is not working out today, instead of focusing on what they can control, which is the engine on the back of the boat. They can control the amount, the angle of the engine. They can control the speed of the engine. The present kinetic energy is sitting in the engine, not sitting in the wake back there. So what are you doing with your engine right now? How are you taking responsibility for charging your own battery? Everybody has a human battery. But how are you taking responsibility for charging, keeping your human battery charged? Because that is your gift to yourself as well as to the world.
Yeah. How are you keeping your human battery charged? Nikki Bush, absolutely loving it. We're going to catch up with you in a few minutes' time for some fundamentals to help us get through the rest of COVID and this new normal that we find ourselves in and reimagining it. I would love to chat to Anisa. Now, Anisa is a wellness a coach who is all about fitness, being not only fit in your body, but in your mind as well. Anisa, take us back to the day, the moment that you decided to change the trajectory of your life and keep your human engine charged. You were 126 kilograms. You were in an abusive marriage with a drug addict. What happened to get you to where you are today? What was the mind shift that took place?
Okay, so when I got married, I was 56 kgs. So I was fluctuating between 126 and 128. Now I kept the weight to keep the marriage. And every time I lost weight, I would get a beating. So I didn't only go through emotional abuse, I went through physical and mental abuse. So today I would like to really press on mental and emotional connection. The power, like Nikki said, she touched on so much things that I actually can relate to, and I was going to actually speak about as well. The mind, the power of the mind. So I stayed in this marriage for 9 years, hoping that it would change, but it actually got worse. But I'm blessed to have 2 beautiful children from the marriage. I need to highlight also that I carried my son for 10 months, 2 weeks. I gave birth to a 5.3 baby. My daughter was 4.75. Yes. So normal birth. So we women are very strong. We just don't,
100%.
Sometimes we undermine it. We don't even realize it. We have so much of power. Yeah.
You were talking about the power of the mind. I feel like this is something that I'm so happy we're talking about, first of all, with Nikki and now with you as well. A lot of people are saying to me and have said to me through the radio show and through platforms that yes, they are in physical lockdown. We're in social distancing, we're staying in our homes, but they feel like they are in an emotional and mental lockdown as well. They feel unrooted, they feel out of control. For those who, you know, are maybe now using alcohol more than ever as a way of coping, or using food more than ever as a way of coping, it doesn't make you feel any better. In fact, it makes you feel 10 times worse because of this lack of control that you have in your own life. How do we begin to charge that human engine, bring about positivity, get ourselves out of this mental, emotional lockdown that we're in as well?
Okay, so for everyone that's going through lockdown, that's just a sneak preview of what I went through every day for 9 years. Whatever way you are taxed emotionally, physically, mentally, or maybe just eating out of boredom or low self-esteem or going through an abusive relationship, the list is endless of what we're going through now in lockdown. So I'm saying it again, the power we have. You know, each day to wake up is a blessing. And we use energy. This is our body. Our body is a machine. It's a mechanism. So emotions, mind, and the way you act into things plays a very big role. The same energy you put into going to the fridge or focusing on negativity or whatever the way you handle each and every day, feeling trapped, all the negative, the energy you invest into that, we can filtrate it into, like Nikki said, and I live by this, jotting down the things you do not want to be part of anymore, the things that have contributed towards you in a negative way that has brought you to this position where you are right now through lockdown, throughout this long lockdown. What you want to denounce, disconnect yourself from, that you do not deserve, and you want just totally disconnect from, make the list. It can be endless. It's from emotions to whatever you've been through. And then also write down what you're entitled to, what you deserve, what you wish to achieve. And you'd be amazed how the mind and emotions start tapping into each other. But then it also depends on your commitment. You need to set commitment and make up your mind. My thing I live by is there's nothing more powerful than a make up mind. If you decide you're going to get in your car now, put on your mask and go buy junk, you're going to buy it. Nobody's going to stop you. If you decide, okay, I'm just going to stay in my pajamas all day and just flick the channels, quite naturally, you're going to want to eat all the wrong things, and then you're sitting and entertaining all the wrong things in your mind, and you focus on your problems. Nobody can stop you. Same as when you want to decide, okay, I'm no longer going to be part of this, whatever I've written down negatively, this is what I've decided to do and commit to. It takes commitment, dedication, discipline, and support. I personally, what helps me throughout lockdown is helping others. This is why I create the Anisa Fitness page on Facebook and Instagram. I teach and I motivate and I inspire others so they can inspire others by sharing, because we need each other. We must remember we're not on this planet for ourselves. Somebody needs you. You understand? So just like how a chain is on your neck, how does it stay on? It has links and it has a clip and a link to hold on. So this is how we need each other. Somebody in your circle needs motivation, maybe you yourself. So if I decided back then I didn't make up my mind in my marriage, I wouldn't be sitting here talking right now. You understand? Mm-hmm.
I agree with you, and I love this space so much. I certainly hope that a lot of people are tuning in. This platform is also available and currently streaming on YouTube at the moment as well, and on Good Hope FM's Facebook page. It is important for us to get the message out there. It is important to realize that as women, we need to advocate for one another more than ever before. I always say that as one woman, you have power, but as a group of women or corporately, we have power to make a big impact. And there is a woman that has always made an impact in my life. I've also met her on many an occasion. She's absolutely incredible, a multi-award-winning celebrity chef, mom, author. She has a heart for giving back to South Africa, to society. Currently, she's the patron of Food Bank South Africa. And this is an organization that's aimed at eradicating hunger and malnutrition by the use of food rescuing programs while working other community-based projects to help those with HIV/AIDS. Plus, you'll probably recognize her from Siba's Table and Chopped. Sibalicious, Siba Mtongana. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I love the name of this webinar, Warrior Women.
I love it as well. Siba, we've been talking about reframing the mind, because I think that that's where the battle is on a daily basis. It's in the mind. We are surrounded every single day by negative media, by fake news, by news that's meant to paint the most dire picture of what the future looks like. As a woman who is a wife, a mom, a businesswoman, you're an entrepreneur, you do so much, like all the women on this planet, not planet, but platform and panel, you do so much. What do you think it is about us as women that allows us to wear so many hats and still keep going on a daily basis, not only for ourselves, but our families and our communities.
Yes, I think let me first take a big sigh. And I must be honest, the lockdown and this entire COVID-19 period has really weighed down on us, specifically women, to a certain degree. And I'm speaking from experience. You know, I've had to put on a lot of hats within this time. I am a mother of 4 kids. Yes. 4 beautiful kids. My oldest is 8, my youngest is 2. So it's a mini creche in my house. And having had to homeschool 3 kids on top of having to take care of my household, my business, myself, you know, the children mentally, because they were not allowed to do anything beyond being at home with us, has been rather very challenging. And it's been the sentiments of every other woman that I've spoken to across board, and not just locally, but also, you know, my friends from abroad as well. And I think that, you know, and also not forgetting the pressures that we've been under. I mean, there's never been a time where we've worked even harder than right now. Like, I'll make a simple example, for instance. I'm the resident chef in my house, so majority of many other women around the world and locally. And the fact that the stores at some point closed at 5 p.m., you know, and if you're working, and what are normal working hours, it's 9 to 5. Where does it allow some time for you, you know, to go get the shopping, to go get everything else that's needed in order for you to be the homemaker? It's been incredibly hard, and I think I give my hats off to every woman who has survived this period. And I think that's what that was my take on this period, is that I must stay afloat. Because of being overwhelmed, and I have been overwhelmed, you know, once, if not even twice or 3 times within this period. And I think that's the honesty I had to be honest to myself, to my family, sometimes, and say, oh no, today I'm not cooking. I need to sleep. I need to, you know, I had to be honest with my husband and say, I need these things in order to be able to refresh you know, add to my cup, and be able to also give at the end of it. I think it's really incredible that we've been able to do all these things and we are still standing. But I do think equally so, beyond just, you know, surviving, there's been opportunities specifically that I've seen in business, where we have managed to tap into. We have quickly, within my company as the Siba Co, we've quickly, you know, turned things around and made online a new platform. And I mean, I've never been on a virtual platform as much as I've been now. So it's a fairly new space. It's as new as it's new to a certain degree, but we had to, you know, get ourselves, and we're a women-led business, we had to get ourselves technique selves in and make sure that we are able to thrive within the space. We're able to create experiences for my clientele and for my fans and for my, you know, my community, in order to still be able to reach them, because we couldn't film for a period of time. Now we are able to, and all of that. So it's been an incredible, challenging time, but equally so, there's been, you know, a silver lining in the clouds, where there's been pockets of opportunities. But, you know, as Anisa had said, everything is in the mind. We have to make sure that we keep ourselves on a positive, so that we are not completely overwhelmed by the situation. But really, really, really heads off to every woman who, especially moms, who have managed their households, their businesses, themselves mentally, and they can still put a smile on their faces within this time. It's been incredibly challenging.
Absolutely, it has been incredibly challenging, but we're here, we're standing, and I think every single woman just needs to give herself a big round of applause. I've got some feedback going on my iPad over there. Siba, thank you so much for sharing that with us. This is also an opportunity for all of those that are currently tuned in. If you have a question for either Anisa, Nikki, or Siba, please feel free to send that through to us. We'll definitely have them answer those questions as well. Nikki, I know that you have 7 fundamentals that you want to share with us. I want to give you an opportunity to share those fundamentals with us right now.
Thanks, Leigh-Anne. So I have done a lot of talking to a lot of audiences virtually over this lockdown period. And I'd like to share something that I think has been inordinately useful to so many people. I'm going to share my screen, and it's about the 7 stages of transition or adjustment. As I said earlier, we're not going through an event. We're going through a period of transition or adjustment. So I'd like you to take your phones out, and I'd like you to take a photograph of this screen, because the feedback that I have had from my audiences when I hear from people is that this they have shared with their book club, they've shared it with their parents, they've shared it with their children, they've shared it with their children's teachers, and it really it gives us an idea of where we find ourselves and why. So the first thing is that change is part of the human condition. Whether we go through positive change or negative change, you will go through all 7 stages of adjustment. And I'll give you some really practical examples. So the first stage is immobilization. So when you heard about COVID and the lockdown for the first time, probably just like me, you went, "What? You got to be kidding. They're going to lock us in our house? You got to be kidding." And it was kind of this wide-eyed, you must be joking. And we were a bit immobilized by the fact that this was actually really happening to us. And then, in order to make the threat of COVID, because we're under threat right now, more manageable, just as if you were going for a new job or a job interview, or say you have a child going from primary school to high school, or preschool to primary school, or maybe you've moved town or country, all of those things for good reason, positive stuff in your life, you will be immobilized. That first morning you wake up to go to your first day of a new job, you've got a backache, you've got a headache. How often, if you're a mum, have you heard from your child on the first day of school, "Mommy, I've got a sore tummy"? And so we have to minimize the threat. And what I did during COVID, when we were still unable to walk outside of our properties, and I was renting a very small property, and I had 20 paces up and down the back of my yard, I was having a real down day, as many of us have had. And I kept thinking to myself, in order to lift myself up, if Nelson Mandela could go through 24 years of incarceration and do what he did, then I can make a plan. And then Viktor Frankl, who wrote Man's Search for Meaning and Changed the Face of Psychology, if he could get through Auschwitz and do what he did, then I can make a plan. So you see how I minimized what was going on with me and made it more manageable. Then we go into depression. It's a withdrawal cycle. Now, these stages don't necessarily happen in a straight line either. We can go backwards and forwards, in and out of them. And we get depressed because we're feeling incompetent. We're feeling unconfident. You're all working from home for the first time. If you weren't already working from home before lockdown, this is a shock to the system. You haven't yet sharpened your saw. I have worked from home for 25 years with children. I built a business and a brand with children in tow. I get what it takes. But if you are new to this, you can't be expected to be an ace at those skills yet. You're a toddler learning how to do it. So we get depressed. And then we move into acceptance that the only way forward is forward. We can't go backwards. Just like I said, we can't un-COVID or unwidow. You have to move forward. So you get to the realization that you have to move forward. And then you start testing your new reality. A perfect example of this would be a child in a new school with no friends starts testing their new reality to make a new friend. And somewhere unconsciously, the brain is strategizing how to do this. If they put something in play and they don't make a friend, they know they've got to go back to the drawing board and try a different strategy. And we are here right now where we're starting to accept that COVID is our reality and there's only one way forward, and that's forward with COVID. And we are starting to want to test our new reality. And if you're a glass half full person and a positive, optimistic person, you're raring to go and you've got solutions. But you know what? it's not fully in your control, is it? Because we're waiting on the government. They are setting the standards. They are allowing certain sectors to open up, how many people can go back to work, who can go back to school. So even if you're a very positive person, you're a bit hamstrung at the moment. And a lot of those feelings of frustration and anger and irritation come from being stuck in the testing phase and not being able to fully test these new solutions that we've got, because we are not fully in control. There's a lot of external control at play. So eventually we start searching for meaning, and we'll get to a point where we'll internalize all this change, and we'll get to a place where we'll say, actually, this is not a bad place to be. You know, I think we idealize what was happening in our lives before COVID. It wasn't perfect. There was a lot that we were complaining about. We have the opportunity now to reset, to revisit, to reinvent ourselves, because COVID has opened a door. You see, disruption opens doorways, new ways of being in the world, new ways of showing up in the world. And this is an opportunity. We need to take the gap while it's there. So this is an opportunity for you to show up differently. And yeah, so I really like the fact that we can use change to our advantage, Leigh-Anne.
I love it. We can use change to our advantage. Nikki Bush always sharing those truths. Anisa, talking about using change to give us advantage in this life. We find ourselves now, yes, we're in the COVID situation. It is here. It's a process. It's not an event. We can't un-COVID, like Nikki says. But we need to, I think, get ourselves out of that mental funk, that emotional funk that we're sometimes in. There are ways to do that that do not include sitting at home on your butt doing nothing. I think sometimes people are too eager to grab a pull to get you out of a, you know, feeling of not feeling great. But is there something that we can do from a physical and health point of view to, you know, unclog the brain and just help ourselves feel positive as we make our way through this new normal?
Okay, as women, I'm sure everybody can agree, we tend to be hard on ourselves, especially when we gain weight, when we don't know what to do. Then we start to compare ourselves to media. One thing you shouldn't do is compare. Learn to love you. So what if you have roles? So what if you've gained weight? Love you. There's something about you need to love. The fact that God has created us, we are unique. You mustn't compare yourself to anybody, because everybody's body type is not the same. Yeah. So I was talking about energy and power. Where are you filtrating your energy to? If you focus too much on negativity, you stay in that rut. But if you can just take that power back and say, this is me, this belongs to me. It's a gift, it's a blessing. We were given our bodies to ourselves. You are the only author to your life. The pen that you have, it doesn't have power until you put your mind and your emotion to paper and the pen, yeah? So just like how people, I always say, people contour their face and do editing on the media and stuff. Edit yourself, edit your emotions, edit your mindset, stick to positive mindset, stick to your goals. Like I said before, if I didn't make up my mind way back then, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I held onto the vision of, you know, there are so many people out there in this world that are lonely, don't have anyone to talk to, or low self-esteem, broken from the abuser, somebody taking your power from you. Maybe you've been raped, maybe you've been affected from past, maybe it just becomes too much here. You know, you need to take your power back. We as warriors, and the warrior, it's a powerful word, yeah. I call my warriors Anisa Fitness warriors. They all know each other. When people go to war, they go into war for battle. So we as women, and men also go through a lot of stuff as well. Don't make no doubt. Don't get that twisted. Men and women go through stuff. Not only women go through abuse. Somehow we tend to give our power away willingly, unconsciously sometimes, because sometimes fear can actually handcuff you. I'm speaking to somebody. Fear can make you see tunnel vision, that your senses go off and you just give into. I know I'm hopping from subject to subject, but I'm going to taking back your power. I have authority. I have the right to love this. Love your body as it is, because once you start tapping into positive energy, you filtrate the energy into, I love myself, not out of conceitedness, but because this is a gift. Nobody can change you but you. Nobody can change your emotions in your mind but you. Yeah? And then you start exercising, you start doing things that are good for you so that you can feel better. And yes, pain is ordained. Do you know that? How do I prove this? When you exercise, and if you really work a muscle group, let's say, for example, I like to talk about touch on fitness because that's all I know. Yeah. If you work your abs, and if you really, really work your abs, like me, when I go to the gym, I'm like, yes, an hour of abs. I really work my abs. If I want to see something, mainly tomorrow, I want to like, tomorrow, I just don't want to, I don't even want to look at it. Any ab exercise, anything that you work on your body. Yes, Siba, she knows. She used to go to my classes as well. Yeah, any exercise that you do, tomorrow your body will say, oh, I don't like you. That means something's happened. Me personally, let me share with you my personal PowerPoint. I love a challenge. Anything that's hard, give it to me. I use it as a tool. Pain, I take the pain. I'm like, okay, pain, this is what you're doing to me. I'll show you. I'm going to take that pain, use it as a tool, and run with it. Another way is to help somebody else. Reach out to someone. Hey, how are you doing? Tap into someone. Check on them. You know, this just build on you. And when you build on yourself, but I'm not selfish. Don't be selfish. Help somebody else. Because like I said in the beginning, somebody needs you. Definitely. Somebody needs you. You need yourself.
Come on now, I'm feeling it. I am feeling that power. And as you were busy talking about, you know, the pain, I was reminded of this example of when you leg day, because I feel like COVID is leg day. It's like an unending leg day. We all hate leg day. You're doing leg day and you know when you're working that muscle and that muscle tears. You can't walk. You are just, you know, you can't do anything. When that muscle heals again, it's stronger. So this next time you take on that same exercise, it's not going to have the effect on you because your muscle is healed and it's become stronger and you can do better, you can be faster, you can be stronger, you can be more agile. And that is, I think, why I want to come to you now, Siba. You are in an industry, like so many industries, have been so hard hit by COVID-19. My heart goes out to all of my friends in the restaurant industry, in the food industry, in the entertainment industry, who now, as a result of COVID, are sitting without work, who are sitting with businesses that can't operate. So many of them have had to close their businesses. And where do you find hope in these times? I love what you said in the beginning. You've had to change, reframe, reshift your mindset and take everything online now. How do you find hope in these very difficult times? Because events might have been canceled, but hope isn't canceled.
It's so true. From a Christian perspective, that is widely who I am, and that is what those are the ethoses that build up who I am. Hope is the building block for faith, meaning you cannot even have faith in something if you don't have a hope. So without that DNA of hope, you can't even, have faith in anything. So hope is very crucial within this process. And I mean, that's the thing. Our hopes and dreams have been pushed down. I can't even begin to tell you how many projects have been placed on hold. Some have you know, some of which we've been working on for the past 2 to 3 years that we can't do at this moment because of COVID-19, and also the sadness of my fellow colleagues within the industry. It's there, it's thick, it is uncomfortable, and we feel it, you know, because their pain is our pain, because this is our industry at the end of the day. But within this time, there needs to be, you know, I love what I wrote it down actually. You know, Nikki said, disruption opens new doors. Disruption opens new doors. I love that. I really love that. And I think that's what I have done, even though I didn't know it's a thing. Now it's going to be a thing. Thank you, Nikki. It's going to be a thing. You know, because, you know, we've been disrupted to the core, you know, we've been disrupted to the core, let alone the fact that many have lost jobs, you know, people have died, you know, people can't mourn their loved ones, people can't do the things that is human, hug, love, you know, make sure that a person is feeling better by giving your emotion, which is, you know, embracing. We can't even do that. But even within this, I've seen, even with my own circle of friends, but there's been this hope that has, you know, sprinkles of it, you know, beautiful sprinkles of hope that has been all around. We have to open our minds, you know, to that, because as I've said, it is the building block for us to have faith, and faith is obviously what we would like to see happen for ourselves going forward. So it's not an easy thing, because I mean, if you say this to somebody who's, you know, who's got no job and doesn't know where their next income is going to be, it's almost like, you know, you're being very insensitive by even saying that, because where is hope in that situation right now? So it's almost as if we have to take a step back, if not even a few steps back from our situation, because often when we are in a situation, it's very hard for us to see you know, a holistic perspective. We almost have to take ourselves from a sideway perspective, go onto a higher ground, so that we can see other things that are happening that we might not necessarily be seeing where we are, in order for us to tap into the opportunities. It's so beautiful as well how some restaurants have quickly turned into delivery services, you know, how people have partnered up with online services in order to deliver, and many other things. For instance, La Colombe was doing beautiful packages for special events, or for something special, which is not something that would have ordinarily have done in the past. I'm actually thinking of having one for my husband, whose birthday is coming up. I hope he doesn't hear me. You know, so they've been able to recreate, reopen, and just, you know, do things that we would not have had the opportunity to do. And I think that's what I'm speaking to. I'm not undermining or underplaying the fact that we have been hard hit, and that is the reality. But within that, we have to pick ourselves up. We have to dust off the mud and the ground. Let's take a shower if we need to, in order to clean ourselves. Let's go speak to somebody if we need to make sure that, you know, if it's a therapist, if it's a friend, or if it's whoever, because it is within these times that we can't do life alone, you know, mentally and otherwise. I've had to speak with my husband a lot in terms of my frustrations with things that are not going okay with my business. And he'll always say, you know, there's so much positivity, but because you are in the mud right now, all you see is mud, excuse me, all around you. All you see is mud all around you. So, you know, take yourself out of the position, and then be able to see that it's very important, it's crucial to be surrounded by people who are positive within this time. It's crucial for your mental health, for your own sake, in order to come out of this. If you have been, you know, very hard hit by this, you know, there was a video by, you know, one of the that he shared on social media not so long ago, and he was upset. I've never seen him that upset. He was upset and said, this is what COVID-19 has done, this is it, blah 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 blah. He was very upset because those are hard-hitting effects of COVID-19. People have lost incomes, etc. But let us just, you know, see the silver lining. Let us open those new doors that Nikki is talking about, that will lead us into new things. For instance, a very simple thing. I've never needed a social media editor. ever before for the line of work that I do, but I find myself desperately looking for loads of them because we are creating so much content within this, and there are people within the food space who are technical enough in order for them to do those things. So Anisa said, you need to improve yourself. And it's so true. You know, you need to edit yourself. It's so true. We have to acquire new skills that are able to take us through to the next phase of whatever life has for us. So we can't do things as we used to anymore. And it's very hard to the mind. Change is very hard. But we have to reset the mind in order that we are able to do things differently. There was a beautiful story that my husband shared with me not so long ago, and in fact he's next to me. Brian, what was that bridge? What was the name of that bridge? He's going to tell me just now. He told me of this beautiful bridge that was built somewhere in America, and it was a bridge that was built to last. The bridge was built to last, and and there was a big hurricane that came, and you know what happened? The tide of the hurricane shifted completely and moved itself from where the river was, and so the bridge was literally left. In the middle of nowhere where there was no river. And the article was talking about, we can't be working anymore to last. We can't be building things to last, but we must build things to be agile and adapt. We have to be agile. We have to be flexible in how we do things. We can't be too rigid that this is how we used to do it before, and therefore this is, the stance, etc. We have to be agile. Otherwise, we will be that bridge, which is still there because it's built to last, but there's no river underneath it. So it serves absolutely no purpose. So being agile and being able to change within this time is absolutely amazing. So it's called, it's the bridge on the river Cholutela. Google that up. It's Cholutela. Choluteka. It's an amazing story.
Beautiful. Oh, Siba, thank you so much. I just was drinking all of that in. As we approach the end of the webinar, I just want to ask each of the ladies on our panel. Anisa, I'm going to start with you for your final word, just on how we as women can continue to empower ourselves, and not only empower ourselves, but empower other women around us. Like I said before, a woman alone is powerful, but together we can make such a huge impact. And from this moment on, where do we begin? How do we start?
Okay, to every woman that's listening out there, say this: I am beautiful. I am powerful. I am a blessing. Just like how it's so nice to receive a gift, so it is important to give a gift. So you are a blessing. By you supporting and helping somebody else is a gift to somebody. It doesn't cost you anything. Just love yourself in order to love others. And just know you are blessed and beautiful.
Siba, while you also prepare yours, there's a question here that says, can you please share how we can enjoy delicious food while maintaining a healthy body?
You must eat in moderation, my friend. That is the main thing. And also, exercising. It is part and parcel of having and maintaining a good body. If you eat well, you equally have to exercise. So those are my two things.
Yeah, wonderful stuff. And just some words of motivation as we make our way through the rest of COVID-19.
All right. I would say to, all the women who are listening to us right now is that, well done. Well done that you've managed to listen to yet another webinar in order to draw from different women who are also working on this journey and having different experiences. You're actually doing much better than you give yourself credit for. And that's what I often find with myself. I'm very critical of myself. It's a woman thing to be. But, I sometimes look back and I take the time to say, you know what? Things are not as bad. Things could have been worse. And I think in your situation, as dire as things may be, you are doing much better than you give yourself credit for. All right.
Thank you so much, Siba. Finally, Nikki Bush, our human potential and parenting expert. How do we continue to make our way through these very uncertain times?
Leigh-Anne, I would like to share one final framework with our audience, and that is to challenge you to see COVID not as a full stop, but as a comma. And this is just a very, very useful framework that I was given the night of my husband's funeral. We had a wake, and our nearest and dearest friends came to the wake, and then everybody started leaving at about 10 o'clock at night. And that's when I started to cry. And a friend was standing next to me who was a psychologist, and she said, "Nix, what's happening for you?" And I said, "This moment feels like a full stop. I don't know what tomorrow looks like." And tomorrow was actually a Sunday. How many Sundays had I had in my life? But suddenly I had no clue what Sunday looked like. And she encouraged me to see my future not as a full stop, but as a comma and dot, dot, dot. And the dots are the future that she said I had to go and create for myself. So I really am giving responsibility to our viewers to go and turn COVID from a full stop into a comma, and remember that the dots are made up of new people, new possibilities, new places that disruption is presenting to you. Are you going to go and embrace them so that you are not buried as a victim by COVID? Rather look at being broken open and planted like a seed.
Oh my goodness, power, power, and more power. Thank you so much. Yes, I think that deserves a huge round of applause to all of you incredible speakers. Nikki Bush, thank you so much for availing your time. Siba Mtongana, you are an absolute gem. Thank you so much. Anisa, Essop, thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't think you even realize what you've done today. Anybody who felt maybe a little bit unrooted, maybe drained, maybe anxious about the way forward, I feel like I've drunk from a well that is going to keep me going for a very long time. And I think that everyone that's tuned in feels the same way as well. So thank you so much, ladies, for joining us on our very first Warrior Women webinar. You are so awesome. Thank you, Siba. You're amazing. Thank you, Anisa. Thank you so much to Nikki Bush. And of course, thank you to you, our viewers who went and registered on www.goodupfm.co.za. We certainly couldn't have done this without you. Like Nikki said, this is not a full stop. This is a comma. And those three dots that come after that, that is the future that you now have to go and create. And I know that COVID-19 has definitely put a huge bump in the road, but we can get through it together, because when women come together, they can do something that is so great and that is so powerful. And that's what we want to do throughout the rest of Women's Month, throughout the rest of the year, is stand with one another, support one another, love one another, and build one another in every single way that we can. Next week, we're going to be speaking about the scourge of gender-based violence in our country. We know that it's not only taken the country, but the world by storm, especially in these days of lockdown as well, and try to navigate through that as well. So if that is something that you have gone through, are experiencing, or know someone that's experiencing, please let them know that we are going to be chatting to some experts in the industry as well. Now, if I could just get that winner that we are going to be giving away, the amazing voucher to the hamper that we're giving away consists of a 1,000 Rand Canal Walk voucher, as well as a 1,000 Rand Engen voucher. The winner for that is Angela van Nickard. Congratulations, a round of applause. Good Up FM is going to be getting in touch with you and giving you a prize. Thank you so much for being one of the first 1,000 people to register online. Well, our time is officially up. It's 2 o'clock. We've done good. We've done so good at time. I think that deserves a pat on the back. I will see you next week, same time, same place, online for our Warrior Women webinar, part 2. Have an amazing Tuesday afternoon. Ciao. Goodbye.